Hello and good afternoon for joining me for this workshop on ARTSTOR. My name is Sara Davidson Squibb. I'm a librarian at campus, and I'm going to share my screen here shortly and dive into ARTSTOR so we can explore its content, how we can search it, and also some of the other functionality that it offers. So I'm here at our library's homepage, and I'm going to get to ARTSTOR by clicking on the databases link underneath UC Library Search. This takes us to our databases portal page, and at the sort of upper right, I'm just going to search for ARTSTOR. It's going to come up in our list. ARTSTOR, as the name suggests, has many images in it, particularly for art studies. Or things related to archaeology or to history. When you get to the ARTSTOR landing page, you'll see that access is provided by University of California, Merced. You're going to see that message if you're on the campus network or if you're off campus and connected through our virtual private network. And to fully use ARTSTOR, you will want to log into it. And so you can select the login link at the upper right. You can log in through UC Merced, first of all, by selecting our institution. And I normally just type Merced and get to University of California, Merced, click the login button, and this is going to take us to our single sign-on. So I'm going to single sign on. I should be getting a Duo link here, which has approved me, and then it tells me that it's welcoming S. Davidson 2 into ARTSTOR. So ARTSTOR is going to have a whole bunch of images in it, but I want to just first go to the browse section of ARTSTOR to get a sense of what those collections are. So ARTSTOR collections, if you select that hyperlink, it's going to list in alphabetical order where it is getting its collections from. So lots of archives and museums, and you can see the numbers associated with each of those. So it's quite a huge offering. You can also at this point see if there's any UC Merced collections. This is actually pulling in collections that are coming as well from other UC campuses. Personal collections are going to be things that you've created. Public collections are items that you can get to even if you weren't affiliated with UC Merced. So it lists those. And then groups, this is something that I'm going to highlight a little later on in the webinar. But I do think it's really helpful to see what those ARTSTOR collections are. You can also get to those institutional collections, public, personal, and group ones under this browse navigation menu. And we'll see more of that content as we get into our searching. I am going to return to home. ARTSTOR offers us a basic search box, but I'm actually going to jump into the advanced search. This has some options that I really like, which again can depend on your research. I'm going to start with something very simple. I'm going to start with T-table, but the things I do like are that I can limit to a certain classification. If I did know that something is within one of these broader collections, I could use that. And the geography can be really helpful. I'll do a search later where I'm also using the date limiter. So with T-table, I can go ahead and click search from this advanced search box. And from it, I'm getting 502 results. And with the filters on the left-hand side, I can get a pretty good sense of where items are coming from. In this case, a lot coming out of public collections. We can see the geography. So most of this is going to be from North America, some other classifications, and then who are the contributors. So a lot coming from Yale University for this specific search. And of course, I could narrow down or drill into any of these using the filters. Once you get a set of search results, you may wish to open one of these. You can see we also have some language here that tells us that these ones are public versus something that is ARTSTOR. I'm going to click on this public one to begin with. This is where we're going to get our really high quality images where we can zoom in on them. and we can also move things about on the page. The other piece I really love about ARTSTOR is you're going to get these item details or metadata about the item. And you may be able to find out like who produced it, if that's available, what they're calling it, the date or time period that they're assigning to it. And in this case, it's telling us that this is also made out of maple. And the collection information I also find really important. If you click on this hyperlink, it's really just going to take you into a new search where you're going to see everything that's coming out of that collection. Sometimes you may want to do that, but I find myself sometimes actually going to the website for the archive and sometimes looking for additional information or finding that there is more metadata available at the actual like museum or other website. So this is really great. Once you're at an item, you have a little bit of functionality up here. You can cite this item and generate a citation in these 3 basic citation formats. You can also download the image. So I'll just try this for us. It will give you a terms and conditions to accept. And it's opening over here on my laptop. Let me try just saving that and then opening it from my browser. So here's the image that we just had in ARTSTOR. And it also gives a print preview. If you want to look at that, it's a much sort of smaller image. It also provides the image details. So a little bit of functionality at that point. So let's go back to this table. I'm going to go back to my results. I'm going to do a search that I did fairly recently or something similar with a class that was looking for different art objects from a specific time period. So ancient Rome, and I think we did 600 BCE to 500. And this really helped narrow things down because a lot of times you are looking for items in a specific time period, even though this is a pretty broad time period. So I'm searching for coins. Let me do this, or coin. That's not very exciting, but let's try it. And I can search for it. And again, a lot of results. I might want to switch up my geography. I could go back to my advanced research results. Let me change this just a little bit. And even though I have that date in there, I could add something like Roman to it and search for it again. That actually narrowed it down quite a bit. It's possible it took out things I might have wanted, but it could be a much better search at the same time. So that's a couple examples of keyword searches. You may also be interested in searching in ARTSTOR for a specific artist. So let me get rid of some of these search terms, and I'm going to search for Diego Rivera. And I'm actually not being too specific at this point. I'm just putting in the artist's name. I took out some of my date limiters. And I'm going to notice with this search that I'm also getting potentially images sort of about that artist and not necessarily by that artist. But I'm going to select on this portrait one. And on this one, it does tell me that the creator is Diego Rivera. And I could click on this hyperlink, and this would now, as you can tell in the search box, be searching specifically for art created by Diego Rivera. So here is my list. And I could also choose to search within those results. So a lot of different ways in which you could, poke about and search for information in here. So let's go a little bit more into some of the organizing and sharing that you can do in ARTSTOR. And I am going to potentially select some items. So you'll notice if I hover over this, I get a search, well, not a search box, a little box in the upper right. I'm just going to select some of these. And then I see the message that I have 4 selected items. and I am going to go up to organize and save selections to a new group. So I'm going to name this by the artist. I'm just going to share it with only me. I could put in other tags for myself, and I'm going to click create. So now these items were made or added to a new group. It's prompting me to go to the group, which I can do, or I could X out of that message. So here are the 4 items that I have available. It looks like I could also reorder these. So this could be helpful if I'm trying to put things together for a presentation, which we'll see in a moment. But I can start adding things and categorizing things into different folders. So what I can do next with this is I do have the option, once I'm in one of these sort of folders, or what they're going to call, I think again, categories, is I can export items. And it gives me 2 options for these. One of them is a PowerPoint, one of them is a zip file. And I'll illustrate the PowerPoint. It is going to, again, ask me to agree to terms and conditions, but is going to export each image into a PowerPoint slide and then include the metadata or the item details in the notes section of the PowerPoint. So here we go. This is actually just giving the name that I gave the category. But here is the item. And then if I bring this up, I can see that the metadata is included. So this may be really valuable if you're working on a presentation for something, or for faculty who are putting together presentations for students. Could also be that a student is maybe in a class where they are asked to locate images and do some sort of presentation with it. The zip file, if you choose that as an export, it's going to zip all the images together, and then it also includes individual HTML files with the metadata. There's also a present button when you're in one of these categories or folders. And when you present, it is going to give the image, and then it's giving a little bit of information about that image. So again, it's possible that faculty member may want to use this in a course too. This might be a little hard to see, but in the upper right, there's also a compare option. If I click compare, it's going to bring up those other images that I had selected, and I can select an additional one, and it's going to put them side by side in this view. Again, there could be use cases for that, where you're wanting to contrast and compare images. So that was the presentation. And then they also have an option for study. This is one piece that I have not explored a lot, but another area in here that looks very similar to the presentation piece as well. Well, let me exit out of that. So it is nice that you can, pull together items that you think may be useful to you. It is also possible to upload images to a personal collection. So there may be folks who have items, again, that they want to use in a class, and they actually want to upload their own photographs or images. So that's also a possibility. You can also share or generate a group link for what you have and send that to someone else. Export group to PowerPoint and zip is something that we already saw under this orange button. So there is some other functionality in here to use this for kind of presentation and teaching purposes. So I want to next just say a little bit about ARTSTOR's images for academic publishing, and I'm going to back out, I think, to our other search if it will let me. One thing I did not call out on some of the earlier results lists were the fact that some things were tagged with IAP, and this search may not be the best one for that, I think, because of the nature of searching for this creator. But let me go back and just search for RT table. So on these results, you'll see that this says ARTSTOR, and the second one has ARTSTOR, and then it has IAP, which when you hover over it says images for academic publishing. So they do have information at ARTSTOR about allowing individuals to use these items tagged as IAP if they are publishing somewhere that's considered a non-commercial and scholarly publication. So they do have some additional information about that at their website, but that's something I wanted to mention in case someone's looking at this and was wondering about whether or not they could use any of these images in publishing. And usually with all of these images, you're going to see something about terms and conditions. And you'll see down here at the bottom, this one says request IAP. And it has request an image for academic publishing, and it asks you to fill in the information, etc. But that's something that I think can be a little bit hidden in ARTSTOR, or something that I think most of us are not necessarily paying attention to or know is available. I also want to point out that ARTSTOR has just sort of a website too about their collection. So we kind of super quickly browse the collections, but this says more about each collection. So if you go into this, it gives a short summary, which can be nice. And then if you want to, you can pop over to the entire collection in ARTSTOR. I'm going to go back to this page. Back to collections. So we're in the collections here, and this is where they also have a link out to the public collections, which we also saw briefly in ARTSTOR, but this allows you to browse public collections as well. This is going to look very familiar to us. And they also have a section on teaching with ARTSTOR. So they have an overview with some teaching guides, some other ARTSTOR guides. They also have some webinars once in a while. That was linked down there, but also in their top menu. Some of these are on demand, and they also have a link to their past webinars. So this can be more specific information, etc. So just some other information that may be of interest to you about ARTSTOR. If this is something that you'd like to know more about or use more in your classroom, I'd be happy to collaborate with you or find out more information for you. They do also have, if I can get back to it, a support area. So if you do have any issues with ARTSTOR, that you can connect with them. So if I go down to this page where we initially logged in, they have a support link, and they have a lot of other quick links to some of the places that we were just at. And at the support link, they have things about access, more about searching, more about viewing and saving, etc. So this was a very quick dip into ARTSTOR, but it's a really rich resource if you are looking for images in the art realm and from some very famous artists, and also a lot of objects, as you saw. So I hope this was helpful, and please be in touch with me, sdavidson2@ucmerced.edu, if you have any questions. Thank you so much.